Alright, so it's May 14th of 2023, and I've been working on planking, bottom planking at least, for the last week. And I've got one little plank left to put in here, and I'll have about half of this side done. You can see I kind of changed my mind and how it's doing things here. I was cutting these with just a couple inches extra on there, and I'll have to come back and cut them off the saw and then trim them with something else, you know, sand them or plane them or whatever to get them to the final, you know, dimension there. But anyway, I decided to start cutting these off since I was putting these in place and test fitting them. I could draw a line across the top, and that got me close enough to just cut them off square. And then I'll come back with probably the power planer and knock this off. If it does chip out a little bit here and there, it's not a big deal because it's going to be filled with epoxy anyway. But yeah, this is going quickly. Well, quicker than I thought it was going to. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. These last couple pieces took me a while. I put this one on just so I had a nice stable, you know, board on the end here. Full board. Didn't want to cut it or taper it or anything. And this one here had a little more taper to it than I expected. So what I wound up doing was gluing a little sliver onto this one end here, and you can see that where it's glued on there. Just this piece here. So that'll get a screw in it, but yeah, it'll be all right. And yeah, this is tapered that way, and then there's a compound miter here. And George said that with these the ends that go into the rabbet here, he said you could go ahead and you know, if you want to be picky about it, you change the rabbet, the angle of the rabbet for as you moved along the boat because it changes. And he did, you know, said he didn't do that. He just cut the board at whatever angle needed to be, and I'm doing that to a certain extent here too, or just letting my thickened epoxy, if it's close enough, just let the thickened epoxy you know, fill that gap. But yeah, not that big a deal. You learn pretty quickly to cut these compound miters. But I had a lot of work to do to get this here back into a reasonable you know, flow going to the transom of the boat. And you can see here I've got the same thing where these 2x build stringers are not you know, bent in there. It would have been just impossible to get those bent in. So what I'm doing is planing all that down. And this side had quite a bit of work to do to get this all in a nice line here. And where I had to put some filler, well, I glued them in, of course, but along the whole length. But where I had a little thicker filler in a few places here, I went ahead and put a little bit of sawdust in there just to make it look a little more like wood, so people aren't thinking, ew, it looks, you know, all full of glue. Which, yeah, it is. But the glue is stronger than the wood, so it's amazing how strong that epoxy is, especially when you add some filler to it. It's just, yeah, I've done up some little test samples, and it's got to be 10 times stronger than the wood itself. It's just incredible. And the wood is pretty strong too, so. But anyway, so I got this last piece here to put in. And I was thinking I should start getting my bilge pumps actually hooked up. And in that same vein of thought, I decided I probably should have gone ahead and ordered some bilge pump hose, some discharge hose. And you can see here, I got my little 650 gallon per hour pump. And this float switch, I don't know if you can even see that. I suppose you can. This little float switch is just going to be my alarm system for the different spots in the bilge, well, next to each pump actually, so that I know if something's wrong with these pumps or if we got water coming in faster than the pumps can handle. But yeah, so I got these pretty much all wired up, these back two here. And I also hooked up this, got this wired up. And these are all marine grade butt connectors with the glue in there. I don't know, there's people that prefer to use screw down terminals everywhere that you have to make a junction like this. I'm not quite sure what the theory is there. You got two terminals, you got two ends here too. You got wire coming in here and wire coming in here. So you got screw terminals, you got two ends too, but then you got two ends that are exposed. You got four ends, you know, two that are exposed because the glue doesn't really come down real well on the spade terminal end. Where here you got everything sealed up and it's got glue in there, so when you heat shrink it, that glue squishes out and has everything sealed up. So I prefer butt connectors. I don't know what the theory is that. I mean, it's easier to change, I guess. Yeah, and that would be. But I got left enough wire everywhere here. If you'll notice, it's pretty slack in here, and I got some loops in here, and like here, I left a couple loops on each of these, and yeah, you know, don't leave loops, create an inductor. Yeah, so what? Not gonna hurt anything. Anyway, so I got that shower sump pump wired up. I got that aft pump wired up, and then I got up one of my big pumps in the engine room. I got that wired up. And again, there's the wire. I'll do a little more tidying of that wire, but for now it's all right. And then all my wires come in here, and then they'll go up into the wiring compartments up there. And then I've got two more pumps to get done up here. One there and one in here. And of course a lot of planking to do yet. And I got the rest of my ballast weighed in the other day. That came really quickly. They were short one bag. So instead of 1,000 pounds, I got 950 pounds, but here's the original 500. I haven't even unloaded them out of the vehicle yet. I don't know where to put them. I don't want to destroy my workbenches, but I might just get a wheelbarrow or something and start bringing some in when the weather gets a little nicer. It's cold and rainy out there, windy and rainy and cold out there today, and dark. So, and I got the water heater wired up. I got the wiring down there, so that's completely hooked up. Well, other than at the fuse block, but that'll be a quick matter getting that hooked up in there. But anyway, so I went ahead and ordered some bilge pump hose. Hopefully that'll be in later in the week. Don't know, we'll see. But you know, I decided it's going to be a lot easier to do that now too, than because once this is all done on the other side, you know, you're going to have those areas completely sealed off. I had to turn the heat on this morning, get it warm enough to work with epoxy again, get this last board glued in. But yeah, so the hose comes in, I got my ballast in. I can't think of a whole lot more that's gonna hold me back from doing more bottom planking. I got my wires all run. Yeah, and I think this week I'll probably try to make my stairs too that go up there to get into the boat. Yeah, see, there's a stairway there that goes up into the pilot house. So I'll put my stairway coming up here, going up there to that same position, so that we can go up the stairs and up over and in. Yeah, I wish the ceiling was a little higher in here, but that was kind of a compromise that I had to make, just like everything on a boat. The building was kind of a compromise too. There's no way I was going to make the building tall enough to have the pilot house, build a pilot house in here. I knew that from the start. So I made it high enough to get the boat without the pilot house in it, but it's a little cramped up there in a few places, especially up there at the bow. But like I said, at some point, once I get my heel shoe on, I can drop this down. You see that's going to go down a foot or so, so that'll give me a little bit more room up there to work, because I would like to get the boat completely covered. Well, you know, the planking done in the plywood over top the planking before I move it out of here. And then the fiberglass on it, probably have to have at least a primer on it too, so it doesn't get deteriorated out in the sun. And it'll probably just set right out there outside this building. And I'll keep on working on it outside. I'm guessing that'll be next year, because I'm pretty sure I'll have this done in the next year. Have the hull done in the next year. Because I was thinking that this bottom planking was probably going to take me all summer and into the fall to do, and it's going, like I said, I got almost half the boat done in a week. Now, I'm not going to say I'm going to have the whole thing done in a month, but there's a lot to do here yet too. And then this bow area is going to be a little more complex than even the stern was. Getting this planked into here, maybe it won't be that bad either. I don't know. But there's more twist and angle and everything to it here, so yeah, it'll be probably a little bit more difficult. But George was talking about making little triangles and putting triangles in there, which is kind of, I guess, what I did back here too. Although they aren't pure triangles, but... And, you know, George talked about when you're putting this bottom planking on, you got a 15-degree angle that you're cutting on these planks at the base of them here. And ever so often, because of the curve of the boat, you're going to wind up that angle is going to start getting strange on the bottom, and they're not going to meet. And you're going to have to cut a tapered plank to go in. I'm just looking for my tapered. Oh, here it is right here. Here's my tapered plank, my first tapered plank. I was thinking, boy, I'm not really having too many problems with that. And I didn't, because you can see I went quite a ways before I had to cut one. But I'm sure that's because that was a flatter section of the boat down there. But anyway, here's one of those tapered planks. And you can see on the one, see here where it's starting to develop a little bit of a gap. And that's why this one had to be cut to be tapered, so that this 15-degree angle laid flat in there. And then we go on for a while again, and then I had to cut another tapered one here. You can see that one there. It's got a narrow top, wider bottom. You can probably see it was starting to pull away a little bit here again, tight here. Then once you cut a tapered one, then I was good to go to the back here. But like I said, these last couple of ones had to be cut to fit too. So, and this one I actually did pattern. I did a little bit of a plywood pattern for it. This wasn't quite long enough, so I just made a measurement here, add 13 inches onto that. So, and then I put it up once the board was cut and fit. I put it up in place, marked it on the top where it needed to be cut off, cut the top off, and we're good to go. So that's where we are on Mother's Day 2023.